Welcome to the Levrige Show. This is Brett Ingram, and today I want to share with you one workflow tweak, one way that you could change the way that you approach your work every single day that will absolutely maximize your productivity. So, we live in a society, a world, and a business environment nowadays where we are constantly bombarded by far too many things in a given day than we could possibly get done. And there are a lot of distractions as well. So not only do we have the work that we need to do, but we have things that are sort of hitting us from the outside that in decades past we never had. With social media and the way technology has just exploded, we have so many things calling for our attention all the time. And so that sort of just led to this whole idea that in order to get more done, what we really need to do is we need to try to do more things at the same time. So now, we try to get one particular thing done, but we're also juggling a few other things at the same time. And so we might be working on something, and then there's an interruption from this, and then there's an interruption from that. And on the surface, it sort of makes logical sense, right? Because you've got 10 things that you need to do, you have 10 things that you need to manage, and so you're doing a little bit of each of those 10, and you're kind of managing it that way. And so logically, it seems to make a little bit of sense. But the reality of the situation is, when we work that way, what really happens is we feel very busy. We're constantly busy, we're constantly in like crisis mode or high energy, like work like crazy mode, but we feel less productive. And we feel less effective and less fulfilled because what we're doing is we're not seeing anything through. We're juggling a lot, we're very busy, but we're not actually very productive. We're not getting a lot of things done. We're just managing a lot of fires. We're managing a lot of different inputs. And instead of being able to, produce output, we're just basically staying busy all the time. And so we end up getting a feeling of sort of scattered, frenetic, sort of, feeling a little bit uncentered in our lives and in our business. And, that's not really where we want to be. There's actually, it's counterintuitive, but the way to actually create a far more productive situation and workflow is to flip that on its head. And instead of working 16-hour days trying to juggle every single thing that we can do all the time throughout the given day, the actual much smarter way to go about the work day is to break your work into manageable, focused chunks. So you may start the day at whatever time, and for the first hour, you're going to work on project A. And so that means you turn off your instant messaging, you unplug the phone, you turn off instant email, you turn off all the social media. If you have staff or you have other people working, hold my calls, I'm not to be interrupted when the door is shut, or whatever, whatever mechanism you want to use to get to that point is fine. But you need to go in and work for a focused hour on that particular project. Then you take a 15-minute break, you come up for air, you handle whatever crises may be coming about, you return whatever phone calls that might be really important that you need to return, or whatever the case may be. And then you do another hour. And if you work your schedule by focused blocks of time of 45 minutes, an hour, hour and 15, the exact amount of time doesn't matter, but studies show that humans aren't really structured, aren't really programmed or built to work for extended periods of hours and hours and hours at a time on one thing without any break. We're most productive when we work in a really focused way, 100% all in on one thing, and we do it for a block of roughly an hour or so. Then you take a break, and that break can be whatever you want. If you don't have any urgent issues to tend to in that break, then you can, check your timeline on Facebook, or you can, tweet some stuff, or, play a little video game, or do some yoga, or, look out the window or whatever, but do something that's a complete break from that work that you were working on. So you're not engaged in it anymore. You're not focused on it anymore. You're not working on that anymore. You're giving your mind a complete break to do other things. And then you schedule the next hour and you do exactly the same thing. And it's a small tweak because you're ultimately going to still be working essentially the same number of hours. You can essentially do all the same things, but by shifting it from trying to juggle a bunch of different things at once to that sort of focused, hyper-focused activity where you work in blocks of time, you'll find that your productivity goes through the roof because you're going to go from feeling frazzled and fragmented and pulled in too many directions to possibly do everything. You get to the end of the day where you're exhausted and you haven't actually accomplished anything because you moved everything just a little bit down the field, but you haven't been able to really get anything done. And you're constantly feeling like you're on the hamster wheel and need to put more hours in. You're going to shift from that to feeling super productive because although you won't have accomplished work in as many different areas in any one given day, you can see things through to completion much faster. You can see the progress you're making on the things you're working on much more tangibly. And that in and of itself is going to create a completely different mind frame and a completely different level of feeling of satisfaction, of productivity. It re-energizes you because it makes you feel excited to get back to work and do the same thing. Now, a one word of caution with this. If you are used to working in the first way, where everything is just chaos, and you have staff, and you have other people you work with, they are not going to just naturally adopt to this just because you say you're going to do it. It's going to be very important that you enforce those rules in the beginning, because if you say to everybody, okay, I got a great new strategy today, I can't be bothered from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. At 10, I promise I'll come out, we'll talk about whatever stuff that we got going on, but from 9 to 10, I need to be left alone. What's going to happen is you're going to get in there, you're going to start doing your work, and then in 10 minutes, the phone is going to ring, and they're going to come running, knocking on your door. You know what? So-and-so is on the line, and I wasn't really sure what to tell them, and so I didn't know, and you're going to get frustrated. Oh, I just said I'm not to be disturbed. In those instances, you need to actually train your staff. You need to train your outsourcers. You need to train anybody else that you need to train, your parents, your spouse, your siblings, your kids, whatever, if they're calling you, unless it's a life and death emergency. I'm not answering the phone. I understand there's an issue. Let them know. I'll be calling back in 45 minutes. Thanks. Shut the door, please. And when you do this for a few days, they'll get better and better and better at it, and they'll realize you're serious. But when you try to institute any change, the first step will be to make sure that you have conviction with what you're talking about. Because if you say it, but then you allow that to be laxed, or you allow the rules not to be as firm as the way that you laid them out, it's not going to work. It's going to gently slide right back into what you were already doing, and you're going to find that you're in the same boat. Now, once you've established this for yourself as a pattern, what the best thing to do is, if you have staff, encourage them to do the same thing. And you can even create some sort of office signal that basically says, I'm working right now, don't bother me. I come up for air at this time. Give everybody like a little, clock where they can set the time where they can be like bothered again or whatever. Whatever the structure of it doesn't matter. What matters is that you follow through and that you make sure that you stick to it, because if you don't, nobody else is going to either. You have to constantly reinforce it. But what you will find in doing this is that your productivity absolutely skyrockets. Your sense of control over what you're doing, your sense of productivity, your sense of accomplishment, you're feeling like you can do whatever it is that you're setting out to, that you can reach your goals. All of that stuff goes through the roof. Even your self-esteem increases, because now you don't feel like you're being whipsawed and pulled in every different direction by every stimulus. You feel like you are in control. You are the one enforcing your will on what needs to be done and on your job and on your day. Instead of your day, yanking you around and slapping you around. And that is going to make a major difference in your overall production and your overall success, your ability to make a profit, your ability to grow, your ability to scale. As you teach other people to do this as well, you will find that workplace morale goes up, everybody's feeling of happiness and productivity goes up, and everyone is going to start to feel more of a sense of control and responsibility and ownership for what they're doing. When you're in an interrupt-driven workplace, the problem is it's very easy for people to weasel a lot of things with excuses also. Hey, they needed me, he needed me, no, that doesn't work anymore, because remember, we're working in blocks of time. In between those blocks of time are when you are allowed to be interrupted, but these 6 hours of your 8-hour day or whatever it is, those should be focused blocks of time. So what did you set out to accomplish? What did you accomplish? If you're not accomplishing it, you're clearly not holding to the standard that we set. So it's time to fix that and do it the right way. So that is a super easy tip. It's difficult to implement, but it's a super easy tip to how to maximize your productivity with one simple tweak to your daily workflow. As always, if you have any questions or comments, share them with me at levrigeshow.com or tweet them at #levrigeshow. And until next time, make it happen.